We begin tonight with Marc Short, White House Legislative Affairs Director during the first Trump administration, Jonathan Cott, former senior advisor, retired Senator Joe Manchin. Gentlemen, good to see both of you. Marc, start with you. There was lots of predictions back in April that by the middle of summer, Donald Trump's presidency was going to be all but cooked because of the tariff. Stock market at record highs, seems to have the wind at his back. Is he politically stronger than he has ever been before?
I don't think he's politically stronger. I do think he's had a good run, as you said. Keep in mind, in April, he basically announced the tariffs, then he retracted them. And so I do think that's part of the reason he's had better economic numbers. But look, markets are all-time highs. The employment numbers have been good. Inflation has been kept in check. So I think he's riding high, and I think he struck several good deals. My concern is that actually the deals he wanted, I think, are going to create economic pain coming forward. I think it's going to hurt him politically.
Jonathan, there's something interesting happening with the economic numbers, because there is how people are told to feel based on the economic numbers or watching television, and then there is how people actually feel. Chris Matthews had something to say about that. Take a listen.
To be honest with you, the country is moving towards Trump. I mean, these polls that come out and show him not doing well, I don't buy that. I think his strength is still greater than the Democratic strength.
You gonna argue with him?
Yeah, I stopped listening to Chris Matthews a decade ago. I don't think he knew.
So did everybody else.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
doesn't mean he's wrong.
He is wrong. Every indicator that is a real indicator, American workers are struggling because of the Trump economy. When you look at real numbers, not just the numbers Trump blurts out and wants us to believe, this economy is not much different than the Biden economy. So Trump can brag and say all these things, but every time he announces something, a lot of these countries immediately disagree with him. Do we really think that the Japanese consumers are going to buy American rice and American cars?
They're cheaper, they might.
They're not, and they're not going to fit on their roads.
So then why did Japan make such a big deal about blocking those products if they weren't worried about their consumers buying them?
They didn't want them. They also are disputing, he's saying they're giving us $550 billion. Japan immediately disputed that. The EU is already disputing some of the facts that Trump announced in that deal. So a lot of these things, we must, to quote Ronald Reagan, trust but verify.
Okay, conceivably, Marc, though, the people who would verify that are the traders on Wall Street. And they are looking at the same data and saying markets are forward-looking. They're leading indicators. Things are doing well.
I don't agree with Jonathan. I think that the Trump economy is significantly better than the Biden economy was. And I think particularly if you look at inflation, it kept in check. As you said, markets are hitting all-time highs. My concern, though, honestly, Leland, is the protectionist policy has been a traditional heart of the Democrat economic policies that Donald Trump has embraced is going to lead to economic pain. And I think markets have assumed that they believe that Trump announces these things and then backs off.
And then pulls them back.
And he announces 50% and you settle at 15 or 20. But our effective tariff rate today is 18%. For the last several decades in America, the average is about 3%. That is going to have an impact. And many of our biggest retailers had inventory that they have now gone
and that's
through.
Been part of it. And that's been, I think, though, part of the problem for Democrats, and we're going to see if we have the Bill Maher soundbite because he talked about this as well, is that Democrats made it seem like they were predicting the end of the American economy the next day. And now there's a real credibility problem, is there not? Because now when Democrats say, oh, well, things aren't as good, or, oh, things are going to get worse, nobody believes you.
Yeah, look, you can't yell the sky is falling every day, but it's not getting better for middle-class workers. I think Marc makes a good point. Donald Trump had something in common with a lot of Democratic lawmakers. He could have come to them and said, look, we agree on this. Let's work together and cut a deal. Marc tried to do that when he worked in the first Trump White House. He worked very successfully with Joe Manchin.
Real quick, here's the Bill Maher soundbite. Take a listen.
Look, the stock market is at record highs. I know not everybody lives by the stock market, but I also drive around. I don't see a country in a depression at all. I see people out there just living their lives. And I would have thought, and I got to own it, that these tariffs were going to sink this economy by this time, and they didn't.
New Wall Street Journal poll, Marc, shows 47% of voters rate the strength of the economy as positive, up 11% since April. No surprise there. That said, if you go with my supposition or my thesis that Trump is as powerful as he has ever been politically right now, just got his big, beautiful bill through and the like. What does he do with that?
Well, look, I think he really has enormous influence over the Republican Party in ways he didn't in the first administration. There were a lot more defectors in the first administration up on Capitol Hill than there are today. But I'm not clear, Leland, on what the next part of his legislative agenda is. The one big, beautiful bill, I think, encompassed so much on the border as well as extension of tax relief that there's a little bit of a void as to what it is now they want to do legislatively. I think that's where his power right now remains.
All right, so Jonathan, I'll give you the last word here. Does this mean that Democrats think that there is an opening to do something other than just be against Donald Trump? And if so, doesn't that mean they have to have a message?
Yeah, well, right now their message is the big, beautiful bill actually isn't big or beautiful and it's going to hurt people. That's why none of the legislators who voted for it are going home and selling it, because a lot of it is misleading. The stuff that's there, the no tax on tip, the no tax on overtime, that expires in 2 years. That actually only qualifies for a small portion of your pay, So that's why you're seeing J.D. Vance having a really hard time selling it.
J.D. Vance still beats every single Democrat head-to-head, though, in polling for 2028.
I'll come back here in 2028.
Okay, all right.
Anybody that J.D. Vance will not be the nominee, and he will not be outpacing anybody.
Mark the tape. Do you agree J.D. Vance won't be the nominee?
Yes.
Mark the tape. All right, gentlemen, thank you very much.